Fascia's, fascia's it's an amazing tissue. When you look at it under camera, which there's some amazing professors who have actually done live bodies and they've put cameras inside the body, you see it. It's like spider web, and the web is continually changing. So the fascia is cylinders of fluid. And it's interesting because what happens is these cylinders of fluid, the more they move, the more they have the ability to pump fluid through them, and the more adaptable they become with more variation. So it's quite interesting because if you have these spider-like webs that are layered upon each other, and in between each of the webs, you have a lubricant, a glycosaminoglycan, which is just like snot, but it's the stuff that allows the tissue to slide, that the spider web to slide. And just think, if a spider web's, let's say it's 10-sided, and if I pulled on the side of the spider web, all of the spider web is challenged, not just the side that's pulled, because it's all interconnected, right? So if we talked about the fascia around the heart, we would see that it's really thin, really sensitive. Remember, it's full of nerve endings. But if we looked at the fascia at the end of a muscle, we would know it's really tendinous, quite strong, robust. Look at the Achilles. The Achilles is fascial tendon. Funnily enough, the Achilles is 63% water. So if someone snaps an Achilles, what are you really snapping? You look at the ITB from the knee up to the side of the hip. You could cut that ITB and put it between two cars and drive in opposite directions and it wouldn't break. That's how intensively strong it is. It will shift sideways and a little bit of a movement. It certainly slides and glides. So it's important for the ITB that the tissues underneath it slide and glide to create the true functionality that's designed. Now, how's this? You're a smart girl, Ness. So
I'm just pulling faces for those of you listening.
But it's interesting, right? I've treated a lot of people over the years with ITB issues, with, whether they're major bruising from cork thighs, whether it's stagnant tissue that hasn't been addressed. And it's interesting because the more I've dug deeper, I now know that the fascial tissue, the ITB, actually wraps around the femur directly. So you wonder why you get a cork thigh, and if you don't address it, why it can affect hamstring, adductor, it can affect pelvic floor, it can affect calf. You can get, from a cork thigh, you can get L4-5 pain. So it's interesting, you look at the anterior aspect of the ITB, it runs into the ASIS. So guys, think of it, if you were looking at side on at a thigh or, of any thigh, and you had the front of the hip on your left and the back of the hip on the right, from the bony structure of the hip down to the side of the knee, we would call that the anterior aspect. We would call that the front aspect of the ITB. If that area doesn't slide and glide, it will pull your hip forward. Yet we blame the psoas every time because the hip has an anterior tilt to it. Kind of cool, right? Because, oh yeah, look, it's just that's the thing I love, Ness, is that people don't touch anymore, and yet if you don't touch a tissue, you don't feel the tension, you don't feel the temperature, you don't gather so much information that it really helps you solve the problem, right? And you and I both. There's no answers, but there's certainly solutions. So, fascia is this nebulous material. It runs from toes to nose. It has various types of fascial types around the tissue, whether it's inside tissue, outside tissue. It's primarily elastin, collagen, water, and there's some proteins thrown in there. It will change and does love change of direction. Loves change of tension. It's a force mitigator. It's a great communicator. It's just an amazing piece of tissue.